Hello everyone, welcome to Night Tales. I am here to help you today. I know you use this video to fall asleep. So before that, like the video and subscribe to the channel. Also, where are you from and what time are you watching? Now get comfortable and relax. The first time I saw the circle, I was convinced my eyes were playing tricks on me. I'd been running the same route through the university park for 3 years. Always at night, always alone. The darkness never bothered me. If anything, the empty paths and silent woods felt like a sanctuary from the suffocating normalcy of my daytime existence. But that Tuesday in October, something shifted in the familiar landscape, like a photograph slightly out of focus. I'd just rounded the lake's eastern bend when my foot caught on something slick. My ankle twisted, sending me sprawling onto the muddy embankment. As I pushed myself up, cursing under my breath, my hand brushed against something unexpectedly solid. My phone, the one I'd reported stolen 2 days earlier, lay there in the wet grass. Its screen cracked, but still functional. That should have been my first warning. The smell hit me before I saw it. Raw meat left too long in summer heat, mixed with something earthier, more primal. 10 feet from where I'd fallen, arranged in a perfect circle about 3 feet in diameter, were what looked like organs, fresh ones. They glistened in the pale moonlight, still wet with blood that hadn't yet congealed. The precision of their placement made my skin crawl. Each piece was equidistant from the next, forming a boundary around a symbol carved deep into the mud. The symbol itself defied easy description. 3 interlocking spirals perhaps, or maybe serpents eating their own tails. The lines seemed to shift when I wasn't looking directly at them, writhing at the edges of my vision. I raised my recovered phone to photograph it, hands trembling as I tried to focus the camera. A light blazed to life in the woods. Not the steady beam of a flashlight, but something that pulsed and wavered like a flame trapped behind glass. Through the trees, I could make out a silhouette, impossibly tall, maybe 7 feet or more. Something long and curved rose from its back. A staff, I thought at first, but the way it moved suggested something more organic, more alive. The figure didn't chase me. That's what made it worse. Instead, it moved with deliberate slowness toward the parking lot entrance. My only exit that didn't involve swimming across the lake or pushing through dense undergrowth. It positioned itself there and waited, that strange light casting shadows that bent in impossible directions. I ran the other way, crashing through brambles that tore at my running shorts. My breath coming in ragged gasps. I didn't stop until I reached my apartment. I didn't look back until I'd locked every deadbolt and drawn every curtain. The next morning, I convinced myself it had been a prank. University students were notorious for their elaborate Halloween preparations. Someone had probably seen me drop my phone days ago, set up this whole scene for a YouTube video or some social media stunt. The thought helped steady my nerves as I drove back to the park in broad daylight. The circle was gone. Not just the organs. Even the symbol in the mud had been smoothed over as if it had never existed. The only evidence of my night terror was the scratches on my legs and the photos on my phone, which showed nothing but darkness and blur. I might have left it at that. Might have found a new running route and forgotten the whole thing. If I hadn't seen my car, the same symbol from the mud was traced across my hood in what looked like morning dew. But the moisture had an oily quality that made rainbows shimmer across its surface. I tried to wipe it away with my sleeve, but it had already evaporated, leaving only the faintest residue that smelled of copper and rotting leaves. Every rational part of my brain screamed at me to stay away from the park, but rationality had never been my strong suit, and the questions gnawed at me. Who was that figure? What did the symbol mean? Why had they returned my phone only to terrorize me? I went back that night. The park felt different now, pregnant with possibility. Every shadow could hide that towering figure. Every rustle of leaves might announce another circle. I ran my usual route, muscles tense, ready to bolt at the first sign of danger. Nothing happened for the first mile, then the second. I was beginning to feel foolish when I rounded a bend near the amphitheater and nearly stepped into it. Another circle. Fresh organs again, but different ones, longer, more tubular intestines, maybe. The symbol in the center was more complex this time, with additional lines radiating outward like a star or a sun. This circle was 50 yards closer to the tree line than the last one. I heard the breathing before I saw the light. Deep, rhythmic, almost mechanical in its consistency. The light flickered on between the trees, closer than before. The figure stood there, visible now in profile. Its proportions were wrong. Arms too long, torso too thin, head too small for its massive frame. The thing on its back wasn't a staff at all, but something that curved and straightened with its breathing like a scorpion's tail or a grotesque spine extending beyond its body. This time, it didn't move toward the exit. It moved toward me, not running, not even walking quickly, just steady, measured steps that somehow covered more ground than they should. I backed away, then turned and ran, but every path I took seemed to curve back toward the woods. The geometry of the park had changed, or my panic had destroyed my sense of direction. The lake that should have been on my left appeared on my right. The parking lot that should have been straight ahead vanished entirely. I ran in circles, or what felt like circles, until my legs burned and my lungs screamed. When I finally stumbled onto familiar ground near the main entrance, the sun was beginning to rise. I'd been in the park for 6 hours, though it had felt like 30 minutes. My car had more symbols now, not just on the hood, but traced along the doors, the roof, even the windows. All in that same oily moisture that evaporated as I watched, leaving only the smell and the memory. I should have stopped then. Any sane person would have stopped, but sanity, I was learning, was negotiable. Each night I returned, the circles appeared closer to the woods. The organs grew fresher, some still warm to the touch when I found the courage to examine them. The symbols became more elaborate, incorporating shapes that hurt to look at directly. And always that figure watched from between the trees, moving only to herd me deeper into the park's twisted geography. By the 5th night, I'd started talking to it, not expecting answers, just needing to fill the silence with something other than my own labored breathing. I told it about my day, about the colleague who'd noticed the scratches on my arms and asked if I was okay. I described the dreams I'd been having. Dreams where the symbols appeared on my skin, glowing like bioluminescent tattoos. Dreams where I understood what they meant, but forgot upon waking. The figure never responded, but its breathing changed sometimes, quickening when I mentioned certain topics, slowing when I talked about leaving town. I watched them photograph the symbols that we carve as warnings, as pleas, as the last desperate attempt to say, stay away, stay human, stay yourself. They never listen. They always come back. And eventually, inevitably, one of them will step into the circle just as I did, drawn by something older than fear, older than reason. They'll take my place in the woods, and I'll take the guardian's place in the space between, trying to save the next fool who thinks the darkness is their sanctuary. The cycle continues. It has to, because the thing in the woods, the thing I've become part of, or that's become part of me, is always hungry. Not for flesh or blood, but for the spark that makes us run at night, seeking something we can't name. It feeds on that longing, that need for transformation, that desire to shed our ordinary skin and become something else entirely. I understand the symbols now. They're not warnings at all. They're math. Equations that describe the conservation of souls, the balance that must be maintained. For everyone who enters the woods, someone must stand guard. For everyone who guards, someone must create the circles. For everyone who creates the circles, someone must be drawn to cross them. The university park looks peaceful during the day. Students laugh on the lawns. Families feed the ducks. Children play on the swings. They don't notice the symbols worn into the walking paths, too faint to see unless you know where to look. They don't smell the copper underneath the honeysuckle. Don't hear the breathing in the woods that never quite syncs with the wind. But at night, when the runners come, we're waiting. We're always waiting. And if you're reading this, if you recognize the pull I'm describing, if you've been running at night and telling yourself it's just for the exercise, stop. Find a gym. Buy a treadmill. Move to a city where the lights never turn off and the woods are just a memory. Because once you see the first circle, it's already too late. The